Hello everyone, we're back on to now topic 3. Students are going to be able to determine the sine, that means positive or negative, sine of cosine, sine, and tangent in all 4 quadrants. So if you guys recall, when you guys are looking at an xy coordinate plane, or if you're looking at our unit circle which has a radius of 1, when you're looking at this, what's going to happen is this is going to be quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Okay, and each of these goes from a distinctive value, and they have parts that go in between. So we start out at 0, and then 180 degrees is also pi radians. And then if we think about it, half of pi is going to leave us with pi over 2. And then if we know that this is pi over 2, once again, when we're going from here to here, this is pi rads, pi over 2 rads. Then we're adding pi over 2, so we get 2 pi over 2, or pi. And then we add pi over 2, and we get 3 pi over 2. Okay, once you go around the entire thing, you're back at 2 pi, and every single value is going to repeat itself as you go around and around and around the circle. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. We're going to start to build on our ideas of sine and cosine. And I just wanted to kind of remind each and every one of you that when we're looking at these values, that our x value is going to be our cosine, and our y value is going to be our sine. So that means when you guys are looking at each of these points on your actual unit circle, we're going to start to determine different things here. So namely, once again, our x value here is going to be positive, and our y value is also going to be positive. Let me go ahead and highlight that in a different color just so we're able to see it. I'm going to go ahead and change to red as well. So with that, if we go into the second quadrant, if we think about it, we went left, which means our x value is negative, and up. So it's going to be negative, positive. So in this quadrant, quadrant 2, our sine is going to be positive, and our cosine is going to be negative. Okay. And then if we go ahead and we change colors again, take a look at the third quadrant, we're going left and then down. So each of these values are now going to both be negative. So this coordinate here is going to be negative, negative. So in the third quadrant, cosine and sine are both going to be negative. And then if we take this same concept and extend it into the fourth quadrant, we're going to find that we're going to have a positive x value and a negative y value. Positive cosine, negative sine. So once again, each of these values we're just trying to get down. You guys are going to have a problem after we do this one that I'd like you guys to work on independently when you're done. And once again, if you guys ever have any questions, please just send us a screenshot or a picture of your work that you're doing on your paper, and we'll get right back to you. So it says, for which angles is cosine going to be positive? So we have to think about this. 0 radians. If we're talking about 0 radians right here, once again, if we're talking about 0 radians, that means our x value is positive and our y value is 0. So that means that our cosine, which is our x value, is going to be positive. So this one's going to be positive. Okay. For 5 pi over 12, we have to think about this now. Is 5 pi over 12, is it bigger than pi over 2 or less than pi over 2? What would be half? If you think about that, half would be 6 pi over 12, so that means that we're going to be somewhere over here. And this is going to be our 5 pi over 12. 5 pi over 12. So what that means is our x value, once again, is going to be positive, and our y value is going to be positive. Positive, positive. So that means it works for this. Also works for B. Then if we think about 5 pi over 6, we know that's less than pi and more than pi over 2. So what that means is that we're going to be somewhere over here. We're going to be somewhere in this second quadrant. So if you know we're in the second quadrant, then you're able to determine, once again, just by looking at this, what's your sine and cosine. Cosine is going to be negative, so C is not going to work. It's going to be negative. 3 pi over 4 is, once again, that's going to be bigger than 1/2 pi over 2. So we're going to be somewhere over here. This is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. And we're going to be in this quadrant. This is going to be 3 pi over 4. If you think about cosine in this quadrant again, it's still going to be negative. And then lastly, we have 5 pi over 3, which is bigger than pi, right? It's bigger than pi by a bit. It's 2 pi over 3 bigger. So what that means is we're going to be going, this is going to be pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3. So we're going to be located in this fourth quadrant, 5 pi over 3. So with that said, we have to look and determine our signs once again. If we're looking at this, you guys are going to see that our cosine is going to be positive. Once again, positive, then negative. So cosine is positive here. Okay, thank you guys very much.